And that is what? Just what? Why are we like this? All right. Dubai Sevens, if you guys don't know the HSBC series, because of course this is for everybody. This is the 7 series that is now kind of known as the Olympic 7 series, allows teams to be able to compete in different countries over the course of the 6 months, 7 months to be able to have a chance of winning the series, and then obviously creates automatic placing for the Olympics, automatic placing for really the Olympics primarily. This is where we really want to go to. Happening, in Dubai, Cape Town next week, Perth, Vancouver, LA, Hong Kong, Singapore, and then Madrid, Spain, which is a new location for them to be able to go to. Madrid, Spain, Hong Kong, a little bit of a chain. Not Hong Kong is not new. Hong Kong's not new. Neither is Singapore. But Vancouver and Perth are new one, taking it out from Sydney. So looking at this, we have a long season, but of course this is an Olympic season. So everything matters in terms of like training. We're still getting placements. I know that the U.S. has an automatic placement for the women finishing top 4 last year, but it still doesn't speak a lot to what we need to get done going forward. And this past week was not impressive at all. Now, I'm going to work with the women first because I feel like they had the highest level of expectation in doing well and grotesquely underperformed in their efforts. So in this situation, we had them in Pool C as they were taking on France. They were taking on hold on, I got to make sure I get this right. Taking on France, Canada, and this is so bad that I'm missing that last one. France, Canada, and Spain for this year. And again, this should be a fairly decent pool. The USA has shown the last several months that they're able to compete. They've been able to dominate. We saw the Santiago Pan Am tournament. USA wiped through. In sevens, they've been able to see increased wins against Australia, been able to see it against France, been able to see it against so many of the teams. And most of that time, we've been bringing back, players to be able to kind of work on and kind of build and develop. We haven't seen the main squad for a long time. Like our primary squad, basically what we did for the Olympics a couple years ago, we haven't seen them all together. We've seen a lot of testing and checks, which makes sense going through. This year, this competition, we brought that to full squad. We're talking about the veteran squad. Ilyona Mar back from injury. Cheta Emba. Alev Kelter back from playing overseas with the Saracens. Naya Tapper, obviously she's been captaining this entire time. Chris Thomas, I swear we haven't seen her in a year. It was so good to be able to see her come back. Nicole Haverland, and that Jazz Gray, Kayla Canet. And then, of course, now the new ones that have been coming in, Ariana Ramsey, Sammy Sullivan, Jazz Gray, Lauren Doyle. Lauren Doyle is actually a veteran as well, too. So this is a team that we have been looking at for, I want to say, at least since 2016, give or take, more or less. Since 2016, this group has worked almost consistently together. They've dominated in parts and pieces, but honestly, underwhelmed when it came to the Olympics. Absolutely underwhelmed when it came to the Olympics. So in the third Olympic attempt, we're on our third Olympic attempt to be able to do this. You have the highest expectations because you got pieces, you got experience, you know the game, and yet we finish in a 7th place finish. And it's wild. It's wild because when you watch, you're just like, on paper, everything makes sense. U.S. starts out great, going 27-0 up against Spain. But then it's just downfall from that point on. And everybody can go, yes, this is Dubai Sevens. Everybody's trying to get back into form. You get your warm-ups. But for me, I'm looking at this as this is our Olympic trial. This is our setup. Like, you don't come in slow. So losing to Canada, which has always been a tough team for the U.S., that's undeniable. Canada has been a top 4 team. But we're trying to win a gold. That's a team that we're supposed to take out. France losing 38-5 in the third pool play. That's a team that we have to be able to beat. And honestly, they're missing some of their wingers to be that have been dominant in other Olympic competitions. It feels like they've been getting new players in. So to lose so dominantly to France makes no sense. And then the Australia game. And this is the one that I watched the most. And I gotta say, it did not feel like this is the team that we've been watching since 2021, 2022. That has been dynamic. You got speed, you got handling, you got strength, you got aggressiveness, like something that I felt was needed to be had again in USA rugby sports. During the WXV tournament, while the women did not completely kill on the boards, I did feel like they were actually like really energetically passionate about every win and just completely being able to support each other bit by bit by bit by bit. In this Australia game that was a quarterfinals that we have beat Australia twice in a row now. Twice in a row. We've got the number. And look, Australia is a team that has the same base. We got Charlotte Caslick, you got Faith Nathan. You have your basic, your same players consistently. Australia absolutely mollywopped the U.S. I mean, from beginning to end was an absolute mollywhopping. It almost was as if they were not awake for this quarterfinal game. And it actually made it a little bit nerve-wracking because, again, if this was a new team or they were trying to get themselves together, like France legitimately is, or Great Britain, who did horribly in this Dubai Sevens, has to get used to playing together again, because until you get to Olympic play, you don't get to play together as a team. Wales has to play on their own. Ireland has to play on, not Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, they play in their own individuals. So the women don't get like the time to meld together like they do other teams. But the US, this is not a new team. You're not a new team. This is Australia. This is another one of those teams that we have to get through to get a gold. And they just caught us off bat. Straight up. Second play of the game, try. Almost fourth play of the game, try. Seventh play of the game, try. It made no sense how fast Australia was going. And it's not, again, Australia's a great team. Number two, three in the world typically when it comes to women's rugby. Obviously, the number one wants to beat. New Zealand, obviously, as the number one to be able to beat. England is up there at times, too. But Australia is one that we had locked in for a while. And it's not even like I said, we're not testing people out. It felt out of rhythm. There was a play where Nia had a huge breakaway, and there was nobody around. No support anywhere around her. And obviously, it led to a turnover that actually led to a try. Like, that first half was just a slaughter, a 23-0 slaughter. It wasn't until Ariana Ramsey came in the second half to be able to, go ahead and see, actually show some sign of life, speed, breakaway, and be able to do something with it. But before that point, oh man, what are we doing? What are we doing, women? Like, this is a team that actually is primed for gold. But we're looking like we're going to get the same thing at like we did in 2021, the 2020 Olympics. And we finished 7th place in this Dubai tournament. Mind you, I know we got a lot of tournaments left to go. It's just the first one. It's not important. Australia never loses in the quarterfinals in Dubai. We don't. This is our kickoff. Beating Brazil 38-7 is not something that we need to hold our hats on. Like, shout out to Brazil for being in this, by the way. But beating Brazil 38-7 is not where we're at. This is where we could have been at in 2017, 2019, maybe. But 2020, 2021, 22, 23, no. Going to 2024, we need to be better off rip. There's only so much testing that we can do. So for me, I was greatly disappointed as a fan, as a supporter, because I felt like this is our all-star team. Most of these women are probably not going to be able to play at the highest level for the next Olympics for 2028. It's not, because they're going to be mid-30s, early mid-30s at that point. And if we haven't dynamically pushed in more talent, we're going to keep falling behind. Like, it's that serious that this is. So the start on Dubai Sevens is going to be good. We'll talk about Cape Town next. But this start for Dubai Sevens is not – I'm not happy with what they've done on this one. Now, for the men's side, which has been, I'm not going to lie, perpetually disappointing. Again, a team that has all the tools. We had a great pool in taking on Fiji, France, and Great Britain. All right. Great pool. All right. Again, Great Britain team that is basically really trying to figure itself all the way out. A French team that is basically hit or miss depending on what they're feeling like. You know, they choke whenever it matters most. And then you got a Fiji team that Fiji's always dominant. Like Fiji's always dominant. But that's, again, if you're looking for gold, this is who? South Africa, New Zealand, Fiji, Argentina. These are the teams that we have to be able to beat to be able to get our gold. These are the ones that would make the most difference. And once again, we ended in an 8th place finish, just like we did in the Olympics, just like we did. And we're following that same path. Once we start off slow, maybe around London, well, what would have been London at the time, we would start to see an increase and be able to maybe win that one. Los Angeles come in the top 3 and then fall off somewhere around Hong Kong and, kind of like end up in like 6th, 7th place again, despite the fact that we have so much hype. But this was, again, this is a slightly different team, and why am I not as angry as I would be with the women's team? Not as high as expectations. Just not as high as expectations. With the men, again, the biggest talk was the return of Madison Hughes. It's great. We got our, scrum half back. Aaron Cummings returned, who's been seeing more play over the last year and a half, 2 years. Malachi Easdale, I feel, is easily the most dynamic player for the USA right now. Ben Pinkelman, a nice return back to 7s. But for the most part, we got a fairly new team going on here. Not that new in the sense of like they haven't played other games before, but new in the sense of like this is going to be the first Olympics with this crowd. And obviously very much missing in this is Perry Baker, who I think is, still recovering from injury. So we have to see where that goes. But we need to also watch for where our dynamic players are. This is another one where the USA men end in 8th place. All right. We ended in 8th place. And it's just, you kind of get tired of feeling like the hype. And it's been like this every year whenever we get into Olympic year, especially because that's the only one that matters. Like since 2016, even though HSBC has been going on since 2009, 2007, something like that. The 7 series, the 7 series as a whole doesn't matter, especially once it's getting to the Olympic season. The Olympics is when this is all culminates together. So we're kicking off a great, solid match against USA, against Fiji, losing 14-21. Then absolutely dominate Great Britain, which is dealing with a whole new set of people. They got a whole new roster. Obviously have to come back together. USA dominates them 36-12. Great win over France, as it should have been. USA 26-14 France. And this is where it's like now goes to, this is the place where we're supposed to be. And this is why I said I'm not as disappointed, but it's also my expectations were less. It was a USA versus New Zealand game. And this is a game that we need to have so that we can actually play at the highest levels, right? This is the ones that we need to be able to actually do damage with. Watching that game, you can see the USA has legitimate athletic talent. Like legitimate athletic talent. Not a whole lot of experience, but legitimate athletic talent. They got the speed. They're just still working on synchronization. Still working on the synchronization. You have a person like Malachi Easdale who just absolutely is a dynamic fire pot because you need that speed. Like we had the speed when we had Perry and Carlin Niles, but on one hand it was Perry Baker, he's got one, but Perry and Carlin can never be on the field at the same time. And we would have when we brought in dude from Ohio State came in a little bit of speed on the edge for him as well too, but it wasn't like we had the dynamic, but then all our stuff was our movement and flow. We're back to movement and flow issues again. Speed for days. We have a talented bunch. We got the speed, but man, it's a little bit late to be trying to figure out like if we got an Olympic team yet, because we should be having this together. And I think we still need to qualify for the Olympics. I mean, I think we'll obviously get it whenever we do. What do we go? Ran America's, Olympic qualifier, which I think we already did. Never mind, we already qualified because we did the Ran. So it's like a nothing qualification. It's a nothing qualification, But it's like, we need to get the guys used to each other consistently and like start off hot and be able to beat or at least score on these New Zealand teams, these Australia teams. Now, losing to Australia 12-26, that's a team that we need to beat. It's a team in Australia. Sevens has been down. They're going down. So, I didn't look at the roster for Australia. I don't know if Quade Cooper's already back on there, or I'm sorry, Michael Cooper is back on or whatnot. But, I'm interested to see that, like, this U.S. team, are we going to see dynamic improvement and see if we can actually get a top 5 finish? Like we taught, we got the athletes. This is our sport. This is the one code of rugby that we should have the greatest lock on. It's 7. So, final standings for this, South Africa ended up winning Dubai Sevens in this one. Obviously, Cape Town comes up next. So they're going back home. Argentina, like I said, has been the contender. They've been the dark horse that has been rising, all that speed on the edge. So much speed on the edge. But for the U.S., kicking off early, I just want us as a country team to actually just like kick off with some fire. For the women, Australia, New Zealand, France, Canada, top 4s, usually just matriculates between those 4. The surprising one with Ireland at 5th, it was actually kind of at 6th, I'm sorry, is shocking. Fiji women, that has been a monumental rise. All right. If you guys had seen them in 2014 at Atlanta Sevens like I did versus what you saw at 2021 in the Olympics and what they've been doing since then, night and day difference. That's what I call utilizing the experience and the time to be able to develop the program into a dominant team. Like, they have an identity to them. And I'm not going to say that the USA women don't have an identity. I think they do. I just don't like that they're not executing it to the extent that they really should, because of they have literally all the pieces together. This is senior year for the USA women. It's like junior, sophomore year for the men, especially if Perry Baker doesn't come back anytime soon. Like, this is like junior year. The Rugby World Cup Sevens was already a catastrophe in and of itself. Like I just, this is lower expectations. So I know some people might be like, yo, why are you being more harsh on the women than you are on the men? Because I got better expectations for the women. I have better expectations. That is a top 4, top 3 team on paper, by experience, by every resume, by every metrics of the resume, but they're not acting. And if, God forbid, Great Britain gets their stuff together and Jasmine Joyce out here burning us off the edges again, like, I might have to throw bottles at the wall. Like, it's ridiculous. We be better. We can be better. All right. I ain't convinced.